Stop waiting for the world to recognize you. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission. Because if you continue to wait, you will grow old wondering what could have happened. If only you had believed earlier. The truth is, the world doesn't change because you want it to. It changes because you command it to. And that command doesn't come from noise or shouting or ambition without direction. It comes from belief. Belief that is backed by action, certainty, and discipline so unshakable that reality has no choice but to obey. You see, the world bends not to the strongest, not to the wealthiest, not into the most talented. It bends to the man or woman who refuses to question their vision. The problem is, most people think belief is something passive, like hope or wishing. It's not. Belief is war. It's a fight inside your own mind every single day between what you see and what you know, between your current reality and the vision you carry within you. And every time you choose belief over doubt, discipline over comfort, vision over excuses, you win a battle. Let me tell you what belief looks like in action. Oprah Winfrey was born into poverty, abused as a child, mocked for her appearance. And yet she believed, not in what the world showed her, but in what she felt deep within. She didn't wait for evidence. She didn't wait to be chosen. She chose herself. And the world slowly, then suddenly, followed. That's how it works. You lead with belief, and the world follows with results. Belief is the seed, but action is the water. Without action, belief is just a dream. And without belief, action is wasted energy. But when the two combine, when belief ignites action, and action reinforces belief, you become unstoppable. Let me be clear, your circumstances are not your enemy. They're your mirror. Whatever you carry in your mind will show up in your life. If your dominant thoughts are fear, scarcity, hesitation, life will reflect hesitation back. But if you walk into the day with certainty, not arrogance, but quiet, focused conviction, doors begin to open. People notice, things shift, because belief, when carried with consistency, changes the air around you. There's a reason the most successful people in the world don't always look like they belong there. They weren't handed anything. They just mastered the most important skill in the universe, control over their own mind. They don't wait for proof to act. They act, and their actions create the proof. And if you're listening to this thinking, but I've failed so many times, but I don't feel confident. But what if it's too late? I'll tell you this, the only failure that matters is the one you believe is final. Edison didn't invent the light bulb because he had better tools. He had better belief. Over 10,000 failed attempts, and yet he never once accepted the idea of impossibility. That's what belief looks like. It doesn't bend when the world says no. It keeps speaking yes until reality has no option but to submit. The world bends to those who believe with enough clarity to act before results appear. And the moment you begin thinking, speaking, walking like the version of yourself who has already succeeded, the world will begin to recognize that version and move in accordance. Your life is not defined by what you want, it's defined by what you are prepared to receive. And what you are prepared to receive is determined by how you think, speak, and move. The average man lives in hesitation. He second guesses. He waits. He says, "Let me think about it." And by the time he's done thinking, the moment is gone. The door has closed. The opportunity passed. Not because he lacked skill, but because he lacked decision. You must understand, indecision is the silent assassin of dreams. You cannot build greatness with a mind that trembles before every choice. You cannot become extraordinary by waiting for certainty before you act. There is no perfect moment. There is only this one, right here, and the man who moves while the others hesitate becomes the man the world follows. Do you think Elon Musk asked for permission before he built rockets? He was laughed at, even by experts. But he didn't negotiate with doubt. He made a decision and acted as if it were already so. That's why he succeeded, not because he knew the way, but because he decided he would find it. That's what separates leaders from spectators. Not talent, not luck, not money. Just decision. Every time you say, "I don't know if I can," your subconscious listens. Every time you speak weakness into the air, your environment adjusts to match it. That's the law. Your world mirrors your dominant belief. But here's the secret. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and repetition. If you say, "I am powerful," long enough, with emotion, with decision, with daily practice, it becomes your truth. That's not fantasy. That's biology. That's psychology. That's how every transformation begins. Michael Jordan didn't become the greatest basketball player because he was born for it. He was cut from his high school team. He failed. He cried. But then he made a decision that he would never be outworked, that he would play as if he was already the best. And eventually he was. That's the game. You act first, the world followed. And if you still carry doubts, if you still hear the echo of voices from your past, the ones that said you weren't good enough, smart enough, strong enough, you have one job: reject them. Replace them. Override them. You are not what the world told you. You are what you decide to believe. And belief is not soft. Belief is armor. It is steel. It is the substance that carries a man through the fire when everyone else turns back. When you walk in belief, fear cannot walk beside you. It shrinks. It fades. Because belief commands the mind, and the mind commands everything else. If you want to change your life, don't start with your job. Don't start with your relationships. Don't even start with your goals. Start with your self-talk. Because that quiet voice inside, the one you use when no one is listening, that is the architect of your destiny. Say it with me now. Not as a whisper, but as a command. I do not wait for proof. I create it. I do not follow fear. I walk in belief. I am the one who bends the world, not the one who is bent by it. And I decide now, my life will no longer run on doubt. There is a moment in every life where the world tests your voice. And that moment decides everything. Will you whisper your dream and hope the wind carries it? Or will you speak it with such fire that even the walls around you begin to tremble? What you say matters. What you say about yourself, to yourself, when no one's watching, that's the foundation of your future. Because your voice becomes your blueprint. And your posture becomes your prophecy. When Muhammad Ali declared, "I am the greatest," he hadn't yet won the title. He wasn't trying to convince the world, he was convincing himself. Repetition, certainty, conviction. He knew something most people never figure out. The subconscious builds its world around the words it hears most. You've been taught to stay quiet, to be humble, to wait until you've earned it. But here's the truth they never told you. No one gives you the crown. You have to wear it before the world believes you deserve it. You don't get to speak like a king after you build the castle. You speak like a king, and the castle rises to match your voice. That's not arrogance. That's law. Speak weak, live weak. Speak power, live power. And if the people around you are uncomfortable when you speak boldly, let them be. Because if you keep surrounding yourself with those who fear your fire, you'll spend your whole life shrinking just to make them comfortable. You were not born to apologize for your greatness. You were born to awaken it. Start small if you have to, but start with clarity. Instead of saying, "I hope I can," say, "I already am." Instead of saying, "I'll try," say, "I do." Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" declare, "What if I don't?" Because every word you speak is planting seeds, and your mind, your subconscious, it doesn't know how to say no. It simply takes your most repeated beliefs and makes them real. And don't you dare say, "But I've always been this way." No, you've been programmed that way. By fear, by failure, by family. by a society that doesn't know your potential. But here's the miracle. The same way you were programmed, you can reprogram. Read that aim every morning like your life depends on it, because it does. Speak it with force, not like a wish. Like a command. Walk with the energy of the man or woman who already holds it. And when doubt creeps in, because it will, answer it with action. Action is the loudest voice in the room. It silences fear. It overrides hesitation. It confirms belief. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking creativity. Do you hear that? One of the greatest imaginations in history was told he wasn't creative enough. But he didn't shrink, he didn't whine, he doubled down. He acted. And he kept acting until the world caught up to the vision in his mind. He didn't build Disney World because someone gave him permission. He built it because he had already walked through it 1,000 times in his imagination, and belief made it real. That's what you must. Walk the vision in your mind until your feet follow. Speak the future until your body believes. Move like the outcome is certain, because if you do, it becomes certain. And every time the world throws you a delay, a detour, a door that won't open, don't get quiet. Don't get smaller. Stand taller. Speak louder. Move forward. Because the world does not respond to hesitation. It responds to certainty. You weren't born to tiptoe through life hoping not to disturb anything. You were born to move like a storm when necessary, to disrupt, to declare, to decide. The world has taught you to be careful, to wait, to seek approval. But let me tell you something sacred. Every great change in history began with someone who didn't wait. Someone who didn't ask, "Is this the right time?" but instead said, "Now is my time." They moved while others paused. They decided when others hesitated. They believed when others mocked. And that's what you must do if you ever hope to bend the world to your will. Look at Steve Jobs, dropped out of college, fired from the very company he built, ridiculed by investors and experts alike. But he didn't stop. He didn't retreat, because the vision inside him was louder than the voices around him. He acted as if the impossible was already real. He moved as though it had already happened. And because of that unwavering inner world, he rebuilt what became one of the greatest companies in history. Not because the market said yes, but because he never said no to himself. That's the principle. You don't wait for the world to confirm your vision. You live it. You breathe it. You speak it until the world has no choice but to notice. And when people don't understand you, they're not supposed to. Your vision wasn't given to them. It was given to you. Stop expecting validation from people who never had the courage to dream. You don't need a cheerleader. You need a decision. You don't need motivation. You need motion. Because movement builds belief. Each step forward reinforces the idea that you are in command, that you create the weather, that you are the cause, not the effect. Let the critics talk. Let the doubters whisper. While they overthink, you overtake. Your success will be the loudest response. And no, you don't need every step figured out. You don't need a 5-year plan written in gold. You just need one thing: to begin. Right now, in this moment, with what you have, where you are, with who you've become. Don't look at your past as proof of your limits. Use it as fuel. The person who failed last year, that was version 1. You're version 2 now. And you have no idea what version 5 is capable of. But you'll never find out if you stop updating. Progress is built in silence, in repetition, in belief that doesn't require applause. And that's where most people fall. They think they need to feel confident before they act confidently. But that's not how this works. That's not how belief is built. Belief is earned through performance, through movement, through tiny moments where you say, "I don't feel ready, but I'm going anyway." And those moments, those small victories of motion over fear, they start to stack until one day you wake up and realize you're no longer pretending to be powerful. You are powerful because you've acted your way into it. You've carried yourself like the man who wins, and now the world treats you like one. That's the secret no one tells you. The world adjusts to your identity. If you want different results, stop asking the world to change. Change the man who's showing up. You have one power the world cannot take from you. The ability to choose who you become, not just once, but every single day. That's the battlefield, not out there, in here, in the mind. And on that battlefield, you've been outnumbered by your own doubts for far too long. You've let fear sit at the table. You've let hesitation write the schedule. You've let the opinions of people who've done nothing decide how big your life can become. But not anymore, because the moment you choose, truly, finally, without excuse, who you will be, the entire trajectory of your life changes. Not because the world changes first, but because your internal compass does. And once your internal direction becomes unshakable, the external noise begins to lose its grip. Remember this, the subconscious doesn't argue, it doesn't debate, it doesn't analyze, it simply listens and obeys. So if you keep feeding it language like "I hope," maybe, someday, it will reflect exactly that: hesitation, lack, delay. But if you feed it declarations, if you say, "I am," "I must," "I do," it begins to move mountains on your behalf. You'll start to see chances you used to miss. You'll notice allies where you once saw obstacles. Your energy will rise, your focus will sharpen, because belief, when spoken and lived, begins to shape reality. Look at Serena Williams, from Compton courts to global greatness. Not because she was handed the crown, but because she trained her mind to believe she already wore it. Every practice, every match, every setback. She didn't just fight opponents. She fought the voice that said, "You're not supposed to be here," and she silenced it with every swing. That's how real greatness is born, not from ease but from identity. And your identity isn't written by others, it's written by you. Every time you speak your aim, every time you refuse to back down, every time you stand in front of a mirror and say, "I am who I say I am." That's the difference. Not who the world says you are, but who you declare yourself to be. So start acting like it. When you walk into a room, carry the weight of someone who's already arrived. Not cocky, not loud, just rooted, grounded, clear. People feel that energy. They can't describe it, but they respond to it. Why? Because most people are starving for direction, and the moment they sense someone with it, they listen. And you are becoming that person, not tomorrow. Now, you are no longer asking, "Can I?" You're saying, "Watch me." You are no longer hoping life gives you a break. You're making your own. Because you finally understand, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And the only way to change what you are is to live as the version of yourself you demand to become. So speak like him, move like her, decide like the future already arrived, and don't let anything, not fear, not failure, not the past, interrupt that declaration. Not anymore. Most people never live the life they desire. Not because they were denied the opportunity, but because they denied themselves the identity required to claim it. They shrink, they rationalize, they wait for the fear to disappear. But fear doesn't vanish. It only loses its power when you rise anyway, when you move anyway, when you act as if the doubt never existed. And the most powerful phrase in the world isn't "I believe in myself," it's this: "I've decided." Because once you decide, the question of how becomes irrelevant. The path reveals itself to those who walk. The light doesn't show up for the man standing still. It appears under the foot of the one who steps forward. Think about Arnold Schwarzenegger, a boy from a small town in Austria with no connections, no fame, no platform. He had a vision so absurd that people laughed at him: become the world's greatest bodybuilder, then the highest paid actor in Hollywood, and then governor of California. But he didn't blink. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't tone it down to seem realistic. He decided, and then he moved. And the world, confused at first, adjusted. Because the universe doesn't respond to wishes, it responds to will. That's what this is about. Not just belief, but behavior that backs it, movement that affirms it, speech that embodies it. It means when fear shows up, and it will, you greet it with forward motion. When people roll their eyes, and they will, you smile and move anyway. Because you are not trying to impress anyone. You are expressing the force of someone who already knows. And the moment you carry yourself like someone who knows, everything changes. Doors open, eyes shift, doubts retreat. But this is not magic. This is alignment between thought, word, action, and identity. And this alignment creates power, not power over others, but power within yourself. Power to stay grounded when the storm hits. Power to speak calmly when others scream. Power to persist when the road looks blocked. Because here's the truth no one wants to admit. The world doesn't get easier. You get stronger. You stop negotiating with your old limit. You stop excusing small thinking. You stop allowing fear a seat at your table. You look around and realize the people you once envied, they just moved earlier, they decided quicker, they believed longer. So now it's your turn to speak the words your future self is waiting to hear, to make the decisions that your future requires, to behave as if the vision is already living and breathing inside your day-to-day. Because once you start behaving like that person, the world starts treating you like that person. That's the law. That's the formula. That's the force. You do not become by waiting. You become by declaring. You become by walking like it's already done. And you never stop. This is where the old self ends. Not because he was broken, but because he was limited. Not because he was weak, but because he was trained to be. Trained to shrink. Trained to question. Trained to seek permission for power that was always his. But that version of you, the one who apologized for dreaming, the one who hesitated at the edge of greatness, he no longer leads. A new voice has taken over. And that voice does not beg, it declares. It does not drift. It decides. It does not ask, what if? It answers, watch this. This voice walks into rooms differently. It speaks differently. It stands taller, listens deeper, chooses sharper. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you got clearer. You've now seen what few are willing to see. That belief is not the reward. It's the requirement. That faith is not a luxury. It's your lifeline. And that the world, for all its resistance, its delay, its indifference, still responds to the man who commands himself. Not once, but every day. This isn't a one-time declaration. This is a ritual, a decision renewed daily, a vow spoken with your eyes when your lips are silent. Because belief without discipline fades, and discipline without belief burns out. But belief backed by discipline, that's divine. That's the force that built cities, that crossed oceans, that launched revolutions, that turned impossible into normal. Not because the world wanted to change, but because someone made it change. And now, that someone is you. You are the one who speaks the future into form. You are the one who walks into fear and walks out as fire. You are the one who stopped negotiating with excuses and started dealing only in decisions. You don't need to be louder, you just need to be clearer. You don't need to be busier, you just need to be bolder. You don't need another plan, you need a standard, one that you will not lower no matter who doubts, delays, or disappears. Write your aim, read it aloud, morning, night, with emotion, with power, with finality. Act like it's already done. Move like the ink on your destiny has already dried. Seek like your future is listening. Because it is. And now you begin. Not with hope, not with hesitation, but with conviction. With the posture of a man who already holds the result. With the rhythm of a soul that no longer waits. With the energy of someone who has decided finally, fully, to become what he was born to be. No one will hand it to you. No one will crown you. But if you wear the identity long enough, the world will bend. Not to your name, not to your past, not even to your goal. It will bend to your belief. And belief, once set in motion, does not return empty. It builds, it breaks barriers, it becomes law. So speak your law. Act like it's real. Walk like it's yours. And never, not for fear, not for doubt, not for comfort, take the crown off your head again. You've stepped into your becoming. Now the world will adjust. It is not the talented who shape history. It is the trained, not the loudest who rise, but the most aligned. Because talent without belief is a silent gift. But belief without permission, that is power unchained. You train for this the way warriors train for battle, not with noise but with repetition, with daily declarations, with actions so consistent they rewire your nervous system until courage becomes your default and doubt has no room left to speak. You wake up, and before the world gets a chance to tell you who you are, you tell yourself. You look in the mirror and speak your identity, not your insecurities, not your wounds, not your waiting. You speak the man into existence. You don't say, I hope I make it. You say, it's already mine. I'm just catching up to it. That's how you begin to walk differently. That's how belief shifts from concept to code. Hardwired, non-negotiable, part of your blood. But let's be honest, not everyone will support this new version of you. Some will question it, some will mock it, some will beg you to return to the comfort of smallness, because your growth threatens their stagnation. That's when the real test begins, when you have to choose comfort or clarity, belonging or becoming. There will be people you love that you'll have to outgrow. There will be conversations you used to tolerate that no longer match your frequency. There will be habits that used to comfort you that now feel like chains. You must walk through that fire. You must decide that your future deserves more than your past can understand. You think Kobe Bryant became a legend because he was naturally better than everyone. No. He out-trained, out-focused, out-decided them. While others were celebrating, he was rehearsing. While they were coasting, he was crafting identity. That's why he didn't just play like the best. He carried himself like it. And that's what made the world believe, because the world doesn't just respond to results. It responds to rhythm, to consistency, to someone so aligned, so committed, so obsessed with their standard, that the noise of doubt never gets loud enough to take root. You can be that person. But you must start speaking differently. You must move differently. You must start carrying your future in your spine. Upright, present, certain. And when someone asks you who you are, don't tell them what you've done. Tell them what you've decided. The man who decides with conviction doesn't need to explain himself. His actions become the explanation. His presence becomes the message. His results become the echo of the belief he repeated in silence when no one was watching. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them wonder how you did it. You're not here to convince them. You're here to become undeniable. But don't confuse visibility with power. Power starts long before the spotlight. It begins in the quiet, when no one's cheering, when no one sees you, when it's just you versus your former self. And that's the real opponent, the old you, the comfortable you, the version that hits snooze, that overthinks, that rewrites the plan for the 5th time instead of taking the first step. You defeat him with decisions, not feelings. You defeat him every time you choose movement over motivation. Every time you say, I act now, while fear whispers, wait. That is how giants are born. Not in a moment of glory, but in 1,000 quiet moments of discipline when no one applauded, but you moved anyway. Take Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He didn't begin as the powerhouse you know today. He was broke at $7 in his pocket. No spotlight, no fame. But he had something the world couldn't take: a decision. He decided to work as if the cameras were already rolling. He trained as if millions were already watching. He lived the identity before the world approved of it. And the world, as it always does, adjusted. That's what this entire journey is about. You're not waiting for circumstances to change. You're not hoping someone discovers you. You are becoming so deeply committed to your own vision that the world is forced to catch up. But beware, the enemy of transformation is not failure, it's familiarity. The pull of your old story will come for you. It will show up in the form of old habits, old friends, old doubts dressed in new clothes. It will whisper, just be realistic. Don't get your hopes up. Remember the last time? And that's when you look it in the eye and say, that version of me doesn't live here anymore. Because you've made a decision. And once a man truly decides, not just hopes, not just tries, but decides, the universe begins to reconfigure around that decision. Opportunities appear, conversations shift, energy rises. You stop seeking and you start attracting, not by magic, but by alignment. Your words begin to match your walk. Your tone starts to carry weight. Your eyes start to carry vision, and people feel it before they can explain it. You are not the man who waits. You are the man who moves, and you've already begun. There comes a moment when a man stops negotiating with the noise. He stops flinching at delay. He stops explaining his fire to those who live in fog, and he simply becomes. He no longer looks to the world for permission because he has already given it to himself. He no longer studies the weather because he has become the storm. He no longer knocks on doors because he's building his own house. This is that moment for you, where you draw the line, where you say with your breath, your body, your being, this is who I am now, and I will not retreat. Because you finally understand, no one will crown you, no one will rescue you, no one will hand you the life you dream of wrapped in a bow. It's not coming, you are coming. You are rising, not because it's easy, but because it's time. And when doubt tries to re-enter, when fear tests the lock, you'll smile. Not because you no longer feel it, but because you've learned to walk through it anyway. Because now your discipline leads, your decisions lead, your identity, the one you forged in repetition, in pain, in silence leads, and the world, it follows. It follows the man who refuses to quit. It follows the man who doesn't blink. It follows the man who lives as if the future has already arrived, because for him it has. This is no longer theory. This is law. This is embodiment. This is a life that bends not to noise, but to knowing. So walk like it, speak like it, lead like it. Wake up tomorrow as if the ink on your destiny is already dry. Enter each room like you've already built what they're still trying to imagine. Speak to the version of you 5 years from now and walk like he's watching. Because he is, and the only thing he's waiting on is your final decision. So say it one last time, not to hype yourself up, but to cement what's already begun. I am the one who decides. I am the one who builds. I am the one who believes. And now the world will respond.